Suns and the Spurs, Game 5 coming up. John Saunders back in New York. Here's a look at our Sprite plays of the night from the Suns-Spurs series thus far.
Blocked by Stoudemire at the summit. Amari denies Duncan.
Log on to ESPN.com, keyword Sprite, to see if any plays from tonight's game make it into this week's Sprite Courtside Countdown. Game 5 is coming up. Before we get you out there, we want to hear from the experts. And once again, Greg, Tony Parker is going to have to be key if Phoenix is going to lose this series tonight.
There's no doubt about it. If Tony Parker lives in the paint, then I think that's going to really speak volumes for the San Antonio Spurs. When he's in the paint in attack mode, it puts so much pressure on Phoenix defensively. They don't have the depth. They can't afford to foul, and they're not looking to help off of Tim Duncan. So I think it's going to be vital that he not fall in love with that jump shot against Joe Johnson. Make Joe Johnson make tough plays defensively in the paint.
Oh, and I think San Antonio really needs to give Amari Stoudemire maybe a different look, because it's at the point now where it's on the verge of ridiculous. He has just scored over 30-plus every time they've played this year, 7 consecutive games. He's dominating the front line primarily because he's comfortable that when he gets it, he can put his head down and go to work. And he is just too much of a stud down there, too much of an athlete for the guys in San Antonio trying to defend him. Run some extra defenders on him when he puts it on the floor. He does not pass the ball well. Once he makes his moves, you might force some turnovers, get some stops. They've survived 5 out of those 7 when he scores 30, San Antonio has, but that's not going to continue forever. I think you need to run some bodies at him.
I just think they need to get back on defense. Get a hand in everybody's face. Keep your body in front of Phoenix's offensive players. That's the bottom line. Greg Popovich talked about how undisciplined they were in Game 4 and how it was such a deviation from everything that you've seen from the San Antonio Spurs this year. Make Phoenix beat you. Don't give them any open shots.
And you talk about open shots. I think that's going to be a critical scenario in this game. The three-pointer. That's something San Antonio has done a great job of taking away. Phoenix has shot a high percentage, but they have not gotten as many until Game 4. They got 18, made 9. If they get over 23s tonight, they probably win this game.
Yeah, even George Karl said in their series, they flat out do not give up transition threes. They run you off of that line. Phoenix did a better job in Game 4 of getting the ball in the hands of guys like a Joe Johnson who can get inside and create offense for himself. It's going to be critical again. I think Phoenix is feeling pretty good about themselves right now.
Real quickly, the fact that you were down 3-0 and it's supposed to be over, as you said, does that make you play loose? And when you play loose, can you play better?
I think so, simply because you have absolutely nothing to lose. No one was expecting anything from you once you fell down 0-3.
I think it doesn't make you play any looser. They are the number 1 seed. They should not be down 3-0 in their mind.
They might win tonight, but San Antonio's a better team. They'll win the series.
We'll see at halftime. Right now, let's join Mike Breen.
John, thank you. A packed house. They're happy to have one more game to cheer on this Suns team that has given them one of the great seasons in franchise history. In a game you can see in high definition. Spurs still lead at 3-1, but the Suns with an extra bounce to their step as we get set for Game 5. Our starting lineups for tonight sponsored by Bud Light. In the front court, Nazir Mohammed, Tim Duncan, Bruce Bowen, Quentin Richardson, Sean Marion, who continues to rebound well despite not scoring as much, and Amari Stoudemire, who had an amazing finish to Game 4. Parker and Ginobili against Nash and Joe Johnson, who has now become one of the most important players in this series. As we bring in from the first time tonight, Arjun Gray.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. I spoke to Mike D'Antoni. He said he told his team that you never know what fate has around the corner. He said, I've given him all the motivational speeches and all the tidbits. Everything from the Red Sox coming back from down 3-0 last year to beating the Yankees to the story of Rocky Balboa. He said perhaps the best one came in from Steve Nash's high school coach in Victoria, British Columbia, up there in Canada. That one said, hey, it's now a 4 one-game series. D'Antoni says now it's a 3 one-game series, and that's the way we have to approach it. And finally, in his pregame speech right now, D'Antoni didn't have much to say. He's basically lost his voice. He's suffering from a very bad cold and a sore throat. Mike?
He did a lot of hooting and hollering in San Antonio in Game 4. You know, much Bill talked about the lack of experience for Phoenix in the postseason. Spurs have the edge. But for many of them, their first elimination game, they fared rather well the other night on the road.
Things have changed dramatically with the return of Joe Johnson. And for Phoenix tonight, it's control the paint and limit the turnovers early. They've fallen behind in every first quarter. Plus, they've got to find and milk a hot hand. For San Antonio, mental toughness, winning on the road, the closeout game, the transition defense, and then Tony Parker must set a tempo to negate Steve Nash.
The Spurs are 5-2 on the road in this postseason, including the last 3 victories. Game 6 in Seattle and the first 2 of this series in Phoenix. So they played very well on the road so far in the playoffs. And Bill, such a key to this series has been the first quarter. Phoenix finally won a first quarter in Game 4.
Joe Johnson starting defensively on Tony Parker.
Bowen misses, but Duncan the offensive rebound. Something the Spurs have had quite a bit of success in. Duncan, nice feed to Muhammad, and he's fouled. And Nazr Muhammad will shoot 2.
Duncan waiting for nothing tonight. A deplorable game at the free throw line, 3 for 12. One of the game's historically greatest players ever. Comes out flashing into the post when the double team came off of Nazr Muhammad, the quick shovel pass, earning the trip to the line.
Nash with the first foul, as Muhammad will go there. Muhammad's had some good starts. They go to him a lot when Duncan gets double teamed, as Muhammad has played extremely well. But free throws a concern for Greg Popovich, and it's not just Duncan. 4 of the 5 starters are below average free throw shooters. Manu Ginobili really the only starter who you call a very good free throw shooter.
And for the Phoenix Suns, who could have won 3 of the 4 games played already, they've won in 1 of those games. They just feel that their sense of confidence, their sense of looseness, is a completely contrasting position to the tightness which appears around the San Antonio Spurs right now.
Johnson, floater won't go. Duncan, a tough rebound. But the Spurs are a poised team. They've been through it before. They've had a couple of tough games in their playoffs as Ginobili puts it in. And I don't think they're losing any confidence. They were very annoyed with how they played in Game 4.
Mood in the Spur locker room, certainly focused, determined. But historically, this is a team that tightens up down the stretch.
Ginobili blocked it, and they're going to call a jump ball. Nice defensive play for Manu Ginobili. Stoudemire rushed. He's holding his right arm a little bit. Ginobili doing a little bit of everything in this series.
Stoudemire, during these whole playoffs, he's had trouble with that elbow. I mean, he's been dunking so much. He's been powering his way to the hoop. He's been icing it during the few moments that he's been sitting on the bench during this series and in the Dallas series as well.
I always find when my elbow's bothering me, I stop dunking.
Always a good idea. And that's got to be a foul on Tony Parker, who grabbed Steve Nash's jersey.
Stoudemire gets inside again. Tough shot with Duncan in his face. And Ginobili the rebound. The officials tonight, Dick Bavetta, Eddie Fresh, and Greg Willard. Nice bounce pass, but good ball denial from Johnson to make it a difficult catch.
One of the things that the Suns have learned in this series is that the referees don't call a lot of fouls. And you have to be able to play at that level.
It's been a physical series.
Not quite like the other side.
Nash. And Muhammad the rebound. Phoenix starts 0 for 4 from the field.
Size on Parker when they come down with the double team on Duncan with Johnson. That creates vision problems for Tim Duncan.
Duncan, single coverage right now. There's the double team from Joe Johnson. Parker,
hesitant. That won't get it done.
Shot clock at 4. Parker, nice feed. That will get it done.
Absolutely. Patience by Parker. Not wanting to take that outside shot. 5 for 17. That's got to be a foul.
And it is. Nazr Muhammad called for a hold. So Muhammad picks up his first, and Phoenix will take it out of bounds.
Tony Parker just dribbling around, 2-man basketball, 5 for 17. In this series, when he's played well, it's just been all layups. Now that Joe Johnson is back in the rotation, all the matchups are different. You got players playing against guys more to their level.
Stoudemire. Stoudemire, who only had 31 in Game 4, his lowest scoring output of the series, but he made all the big plays in the final minute and a half.
He's putting up numbers that even the great Shaquille O'Neal in all the years against this Spurs team didn't put up. This guy is remarkable.
And again, his first conference final, pretty impressive for a 22-year-old. And Johnson got caught. Johnson will pick up the foul.
Looking at Joe Johnson in the locker room before the game, he just looks so much better now. He got a little banged right there, and he's squinting. He's squinting with the right eye and poking that. It's the left eye that's the bad one, where he has the 4 plates. As Duncan slides right across, he gets hit by his own guy, and that's more of an impact injury from his own teammate hitting the mask.
Parker left open. And Stoudemire the rebound. That's what they hope for. Phoenix, they would rather see Tony Parker shoot from the perimeter than rather get in the paint.
Stoudemire's rebound has to improve for the Suns to keep this run going.
Nice move from Joe Johnson. Playing with such confidence. Wild shot from Parker won't go. Here come the Suns. Nash maintains a balance. That's a three. And Ginobili.
This crowd wants so desperately for one of those to go down early and get a lead. Sean Marion, good defense.
Bad pass from Ginobili. Forced it Stoudemire. And 6 straight points for the Suns to tie the game.
Spurs cannot come out thinking they're going to be able to take charges, particularly when you're a two-time MVP, two-time Finals MVP in Tim Duncan.
Crowd already on its feet. They are so happy. Many did not expect to be back here this season. Muhammad, nice shot inside, and a foul. Blocking foul called on Nash, and that's his second personal. Huge call.
D'Antoni cannot believe it. Exquisite interior passing, not only by Ginobili, but by everyone. Crisp ball movement, everyone involved on the Spurs, and D'Antoni trying to tell Steve Nash and Greg Willard, listen, our guy got hit in the face. Steve Nash is not going to try to stop anybody in the paint area.
Nash, who doesn't argue a lot of calls, trying to talk with Greg Willard. He felt that he was in good position. This is on a free throw. Nazi Muhammad off to a good start. Duncan on Johnson. Johnson.
Penetrated dish.
Richardson for 3. So the Suns off the mark early. They've missed 6 of their first 9 from the field.
If that shot ever goes down with consistency, then the Suns take it to another level. And they're already at the Final Four level.
There's the double team from Johnson. That's one of the differences he makes. Duncan, nice move, and flips it in. 4 points for Duncan.
The versatility of Duncan. We've seen a little bit of everything. Playmaking, rebound, taking charges on defense.
Nash takes his time. Nice use of a pivot foot.
When you get in foul trouble like Nash is, stop playing defense and just start filling it up on the other end until you find your rhythm.
Mike D'Antoni not taking chances, leaving Nash out there, although taking a chance with his 2 fouls. Duncan drops it in. Many coaches, Bill, immediately 2 fouls in the first couple of minutes. They're going to take you right out. But in this situation, you can't take that chance with Nash.
You got to win this game. And it would help to get this crowd going, oh, missed Nash for a layup opportunity there.
Stoudemire inside, and a foul. Tim Duncan called for his first. And Amari Stoudemire to the line.
This is Amari Stoudemire's game. Looking at the game's titans, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Ben Wallace, and saying, hey, what else do you have? You're jumping right into a player who makes first-team all-league defense every year he's in the NBA. And here's a guy, Duncan, gets called for the foul. I guess the guy who's jumping into him, bringing the ball right into a great defender's wheelhouse.
Rick Popovich letting Greg Willard knows what he thinks of the call. Stoudemire knocks down a free throw. A 1-point lead for San Antonio.
Spurs would do themselves a giant favor today to not whine or complain at all. Just outwork the homestanding team.
You see Robert Horry and Brent Barry, early substitutions from Greg Popovich. Bowen. Horry left open, comes up, and can't hit the banker.
Suns really caught a break defensively there. Quentin Richardson completely lost sight of the ball.
Joe Johnson doubled. The extra pass for Sean Marion. Johnson almost tips it in. Duncan, the rebound, a quick outlet.
Joe Johnson is playing a remarkable game. They're posting him up. The Spurs are having to play zone defense against him. They're coming down to double. He's passing it out and then tipping in the misses.
Look how far off he's playing Parker. When he first returned, he was up on him. Parker was blowing by. Now he's backing off and saying almost, I'm daring you to shoot. And Parker does not connect.
And the way that Joe Johnson is backing off of Parker at the top of the key, I think Stoudemire has to tighten up on Duncan. Because Duncan is passing the ball so beautifully.
Oh, beautiful play from the MVP. And the Suns have their first lead.
One of the problems for Tony Parker, he can't see by the long arms of Joe Johnson.
Stoudemire defends well. Duncan with a better play.
Mike, I'm going to disagree with you there for one time tonight. I don't think Amari Stoudemire does anything before his man gets the ball to make it difficult for a player like Tim Duncan.
Well, he kept him in front of him that time, which doesn't happen all the time. Stoudemire rushed it. Fights the extra effort. Ball out of bounds. Suns ball. And Stoudemire pumping his fist on the floor. Amari Stoudemire off the Game 4 heroics with a strong start.
The thing about Amari Stoudemire, he's not going to wear down. 22 years old. He wants this thing going all the way to triple overtime in the 7th game.
You're watching the Western Conference Finals on ESPN.
Amari Stoudemire, in his 3rd year in the NBA, just 22 years old, All-NBA 2nd team this year. What amazing potential he has, and what a performance he put on with a spectacular finish, that block shot at the end of Game 4.
It's got to be one of the greatest blocks of all time. I mean, how many guys block a ball in the rim?
I've never seen anything like that. It was a hand all the way bent back.
You can't say, you know, hey, we got a call on that or anything. That was just an amazing individual basketball play. I mean, it's inspiring to see somebody, you know, fight like that.
Yeah, I don't know how you describe that. That's a man's play right there.
Amari Stoudemire has become a man in the NBA. You know, Bill, people here in Phoenix, they know all about his story, but maybe not around the country. He had a very tough childhood growing up in Florida. His dad passed away in his sleep when Amari was 12. So his mom had trouble making ends meet for the family, and she resorted to some bad decisions and involved in crime, things like grand theft, forgery. She was arrested over 20 times. She was also had some jail time. And as Johnson gets it inside to Stoudemire, and he finishes. He went to 7 different high schools, bounced around. He had coaches and other relatives take care of him, but he always stuck with his mom. He said she was his heart and soul because even though she made bad decisions, every decision she made, as Parker can't hit, every decision she made was to take care of her kids. Now she's on the right path. Now he's taking care of her. And he could have been a victim of the system, but instead he matured and grew up fast.
We are seeing a changing of the guard. How fast it happens is the only question. Not whether it's going to happen. This guy is going to redefine how basketball is played.
Again, he didn't go to college, but he's a very intelligent young man. As Duncan gets inside, can't hit on the follow. And a good second effort from Tim Duncan, who has 10 points already.
When you look at Amari Stoudemire and the comparisons to someone like Hakeem Olajuwon,
Joe Johnson with a 2-pointer.
But Hakeem Olajuwon was bigger. He was more powerful and more physically gifted. Plus, his second jump was stronger than Amari Stoudemire's is right now.
Duncan single coverage. Now they see Joe Johnson leaning to go help. It's Nash instead. And Duncan takes advantage. Just a reminder, the SportsCenter 30-30 update coming up at the bottom of the hour. Stoudemire right back. And Brent Barry, tough rebound.
Stoudemire and Joe Johnson are the only Suns that are playing. Sean Marion and Quentin Richardson have got to pick the pace up.
Bowen looking for Ori. Parker with 8 on the shot clock.
They're just backing off of him.
Parker with a hand in his face.
I think they live with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Tony Parker can't pass the ball when the defender is 6 to 8 feet off him. There's no angles whatsoever.
Bowen deflects it, but right to Joe Johnson for 3.
Greg Popovich says enough. This is not working.
That was a broken play. Bowen deflected. I don't think that pass was originally intended for Johnson.
The longer this series goes, the more Phoenix with their young players, with Joe Johnson coming back with the fresh legs. This team was worn out because they were playing shorthanded against Dallas. Now it's there. This is Phoenix Sun basketball. Bruce Bowen tips that ball all the way over to Joe Johnson, knocking it down again.
Phoenix Suns up by 2, down 3-1 in the series. One of the reasons they feel confident that they can come back in the series and make it tough is that man, because head coach Mike D'Antoni says we didn't have our full team early in this series.
Joe Johnson changed. I mean, Joe Johnson has got back to the level that he's played all year, and he really started in the second half of the third game when we made that comeback, and we kind of try to show the team that and build on that what we did in the second half, and then and Joe just upped his performance even more, and it's a domino effect. We talked about it. It puts Steve Nash back to playmaking where he doesn't have to score 40 points. It puts Sean Marion back to running because you throw it up to Joe and he's making plays.
Mike, you mentioned that nobody knows Amari Stoudemire. Well, people are learning about Joe Johnson as well. The improvement, vast improvement. This was after he missed 16 or 17 days in Game 3 from the May 11th injury to the face. And when we were in the locker room with Joe before the game, he just looked so much better. The remarkable healing power of being 23 years old.
He had a lot of family tell him he shouldn't come back, but he was taking a chance. His Ginobili shot blocked by Richardson. Horry with a nice save. Shot clock at 3. Barry with the left hand. Oh, Robert Horry.
So they take Tim Duncan out of the game on the broken play, forced Popovich to call the timeout, and still the Suns can't get a defensive rebound.
But just on Johnson, he's playing. He's got metal plates.
4 plates
in his face.
4 plates and 18 screws right underneath his left eye. But the swelling is down, and he just looks so much healthier.
Robert Horry is still healthy at his age. Deflects that as we go to Jim Gray.
Hey, Mike, with all of that you and Bill are talking about, all those screws and plates, it's amazing. There's not a scar on his face. We asked him about that the other day. And you're not going to like hearing this if you're eating dinner right now, but they went up through his lip, underneath his teeth, and they repaired it that way, so there will be no scar to his face. But it's very painful when he chews and eats. It's getting better each day, Mike.
And another thing that he has, Jim, is that the face is numb because when the fracture occurred and the surgery was done, and that he obviously had to go through some nerves there, and we can only hope that that comes back. I've got far too many parts of my body that are numb as can be.
Muhammad has it knocked away. Steve Nash sitting right now with the 2 fouls. Quentin Richardson on the drive. Blocked from behind by Horry. Robert Horry with the block, but Marion right there in the follow. And Richardson very slow getting up. He's shaken up.
Manu Ginobili has done little, if anything, in this game.
He's still rather early.
I think he's their most important player.
Well, he's got 4 assists. Minute and a half remaining.
I'd rather have some of those behind-the-back drives and the half-court shots, maybe kick one in from the center stripe.
Stoudemire tries it again. Won't go. Ball tipped and taken by Barry. Boy, that second jump to get the initial offensive rebound was so quick.
If he would learn to drop his movable foot back. There's a foul here on Stoudemire, and no need to foul Nazr Muhammad away from the ball.
That's his first down the other end. That's the 14th foul. Let's look at the play where Quentin Richardson was shaken up.
To the hoop, the strong drive. Gets hit by Robert Horry's left knee right in the side of the head. Grabs all kinds of parts of the body, protecting the fact that he had 3 guys block his shot there.
Cedar Hunter comes in for Phoenix. Nash is back. Dana Woodrick comes in for San Antonio. Duncan. Marion does a good job tipping it. Final minute, first quarter.
They quickly bring Duncan in to go against the Stoudemire-less teams. Joe Johnson, this guy, he's got game.
Ginobili goes right at Nash. Nash taking a chance. He had the 2 fouls. Ginobili couldn't finish.
This is the place. Oh, goodness.
Boy, hands. Hunter. Last touch by Udrich. And this is what you expect from a team facing elimination, diving for these loose balls.
But you also expect players like Jim Jackson to play well at home. As he moves down the rotation now with the return of Joe Johnson, that's a double dribble.
He thought Hunter was going to roll on that, and he didn't.
But you can't pass to yourself like that.
Some people wish they could. Shot clock down to 8. Sean Marion for 3. And Duncan a rebound.
Ozzie Mohammed, outstanding attention to detail, keeping Hunter off so Duncan could sweep the board.
Shot clock turned off. Final seconds of the opening period. Ginobili. Duncan for 3. And Duncan off the mark.
I'm not sure if that's the play Greg Popovich wanted.
Duncan during the regular season was 3 of 9 from three-point range. But you see Duncan and Stoudemire leading the way here in the first quarter of Game 5. Spurs jumped out to a quick 6-0 lead, but the Phoenix came back strong. Another elimination game for the Suns, down 3-1 in the series, and they're all tied after 1. Second quarter set to begin in Phoenix. It's all tied up. As Amari Stoudemire with 11 points. What's made it so special, what he's done in this series, is he's playing against Tim Duncan, one of the premier defensive players in the NBA.
And I think one of the real mistakes that the Phoenix Suns made, you talked about the lack of experience. In Game 1, they had Sean Marion guarding Tim Duncan. And that took Amari out of his game. And when you're a great player, and Duncan obviously is, Stoudemire is right there on the class, you want that challenge. And in the studio on Game 4 with Bill Russell, we were talking about how Russell used to just relish that chance to go against Wilt Chamberlain, to go against Willis Reed.
Nash fires a 3. And Duncan, another rebound. Duncan did have, in that Game 4, 16 rebounds. He already has 8 in this one.
Duncan is going to have huge numbers. Suns just packing it in right now, and reluctance to shoot from the perimeter by the Spurs.
Ginobili trying to find an opening. Somehow gets it to Horry. Shot clock at 5. Udrih knocks it down. Beno Udrih had a solid game. In Game 4, 9 points, couple of assists. A rookie from Slovenia.
One of these role players is going to come up big tonight in this historical battle.
Nash.
Because the way it's playing out is that Stoudemire and Duncan are going to neutralize each other. Nash is going to have a good game, but one of either Parker or Ginobili will. That'll neutralize.
Well, so often, if Tony Parker has a big game, the Spurs are almost unbeatable. Udrih, back-to-back threes for Beno Udrih. Quickly down the other end. Johnson lost it, got it back, but rushed it.
Great transition defense. That's all we've heard from Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. I don't want to be trotting back. I want to see guys sprinting back.
They did that time. All of them. Barry off the dribble. All poked away. Udrih touched it last.
Udrih is quicker to the ball than any of the reserve and role players right now.
Beno Udrih, their first-round pick in 2004, the 28th selection. Played for pro ball in Slovenia, played in Italy, played in Israel. And showing some good hustle here, although touched it last.
The anticipation, but the Spurs franchise, which is just outstanding, maybe top of the league, at getting guys at the end of the first round, late in the second. Parker, Udrih, Manu Ginobili, late in the second round. Come on.
Stoudemire. Robert Horry comes out of the pack.
He's in a situation, Stoudemire, he could throw that ball off the backboard to himself. Just throw it hard to the backboard, have it be a pass to yourself, grab it, and then dunk it back in the second time while everybody's looking for the rebound.
Ginobili for three. 3 3-pointers here to start the second quarter for San Antonio, and this is their largest lead.
Can Nash get it going? They're stepping out with size on Little Stevie.
You think he likes the nickname Little Stevie?
Well, look at him. How can you call him this? You don't want to call him Big Steve.
Well, Little Stevie has 8 points and 2 assists. It's a 5-point game. Duncan off the glass. Tim Duncan having a huge start to this game, and we kind of expected that after all the missed free throws. He was obviously very upset with himself.
3 for 12 and only 15 points in that game. He's been averaging 30 points an outing in this series. Quinn Richardson continues to struggle mightily.
And I think it was Horry got a piece of it. Robert Horry once again doing all the little things, just making basketball plays.
I think Richardson needs to learn how to take one dribble and just get in the air. Not a strong finisher after putting 3 or 4 pounds onto the deck.
Foul on Jimmy Jackson. That's his first. And the Suns' first. Tim Duncan, a huge start. He's got 14 points and 8 rebounds already. Spurs with a 7-point lead. Spurs have outscored the Suns 11-4 here in the second quarter. One of the most fun things about this series has been the respect that the players have for each other, including one current MVP for a former MVP.
I have to say that number 21 is a pretty special player. And I just think at both ends of the floor, he has such a huge impact. And he has the biggest impact in the fourth quarter. You know, he's so smart, and he always knows he can get a shot, but he always picks the right time to make his teammates better and to make you pay. And he does that at the defensive end too, which is a rare quality. So, you know, they all deserve a lot of credit, but, you know, I have a special admiration for Tim.
And there's number 21.
The amazing thing is, if they interviewed Duncan about Steve Nash, he would say the exact same thing back about Little Stevie.
And what's great about these two, Bill, is Duncan lost and picked up by Stoudemire. They're two stars who are so unselfish, so hard-working, and they want to beat your brains out, but respect their opponents at the same time. Nash on cue.
And that's what's made the Phoenix Suns and the Spurs such a breath of fresh air. In an era of egos out of control and self-promotion, denigrating the opposition. Great pass. I tell you, Udrih is playing on fire right now.
Terrific spark off the bench. Bruce Bowen from his favorite spot. That time, Duncan can't connect. And Stoudemire with his 6th rebound.
When Steve Nash is on the move, Stoudemire's got to give that ball up. I mean, San Antonio is so determined in their transition defense. It's going to be tough to get opportunities.
Shot inside, won't go. Hunter couldn't finish.
Udrih is everywhere. Brent Berry gave him the spark in the games here, the first 2 games.
Robert Horry, long on the 3, but Bowen, the rebound. 5 offensive rebounds for the San Antonio Spurs.
Perimeter players cutting the foul line to get those long rebounds off the obvious 3-point misses.
Duncan.
Watch when Nash pulls that hand across his ribcage. He wants a screen in that situation. If he doesn't show that, oh, what a shot. What a shot.
Falling away. Steve Nash with 12 points. He's got all 8 of their points here in the second. But the Spurs are doing what they did earlier in the series. They're making him look for a shot more than he wants to. He wants to involve his teammates more.
The Spurs are guarding Nash the way now Phoenix with Joe Johnson can guard Tony Parker.
Duncan with a finish and a foul. Late whistle, but there was plenty of contact. That was the right call. And Duncan with a chance for a 3-point play.
Duncan on the slice down the lane. Udrih again everywhere. I wish they'd call that play more.
That's the first foul on Richardson.
Guys running in, you see that, you know, at the collegiate level, the players are taught that that's good defense. And
right now, Bill, it'll be interesting to see Duncan at the free throw line. Often how he shoots early is how the game goes. He had been not just good, he had been superb in the first 3 games of the series, shooting from the free throw line 33 of 36 before that Game 4 disaster.
But we have seen with Duncan and with Shaq, they don't lose very many games by missed free throws.
Again, way short. That's how he started Game 4.
It's the foul trouble that the other team's in that put those guys on the line so much that were a much bigger factor than the misses.
Nash, tough shot again. And a foul, so Nash will go to the line. The physical play starting to pick up a little bit.
Early on in this game, nobody was going to the free throw line. Now, this has to be the first sequential possession where each team has gone to the line.
The foul, Nazir Muhammad. Nash will go to the line. We talked to Nash yesterday, asked him about what was his favorite call he received after getting the MVP. He said Kevin Garnett called him to welcome him to the MVP club. And Nash said he's been such a huge fan of Garnett and the way he plays. It meant a lot. But he also got an email from his childhood hero, which was Wayne Gretzky. Of course, Nash, a big hockey fan growing up. And during Game 4, Al Michaels made a comparison between Nash and Gretzky and how the two of them, and it's so true, they have such great vision on the floor. So often you say, how do they see that? How did Gretzky see his teammate open? How does Nash see his teammate open? Well, his idol, Wayne Gretzky, gave him an email saying, way to go on the MVP.
Well, if they still had hockey, Wayne would be here in Phoenix where he's part of the squad. He could have just driven across the street and seen Steve. But that vision you talk about, the plays that no one else sees, that Pele in soccer, Joe Montana, Magic and Bird in basketball.
You're adding to the analogy. Very nice. Parker for 3. That is not Parker's strength. He is not a good three-point shooter. Nash, nice feed to Marion. Timeout Spurs.
Popovich knows how critical this is. The crowd surging as one. He's got to nip it in the bud immediately with the quick timeout. Not a happy man.
Calm, but not happy. Getting out on the break.
He is not calm. He is irate with the transition defense.
Sean Marion, they'd love to get him involved offensively. He's done a superb job rebounding, but this time bringing the Suns within 1.
All right, as the Spurs have a 37-36 lead, I'm now joined by a big Phoenix Suns fan. He lives here in Phoenix, Iron Mike Tyson. He's going to fight again on June the 11th on pay-per-view. Hey, Mike, let me ask you about a fighter or a team. When they're down on the campus, what does it take to pick yourself up, come back and win either the series or the fight?
Well, Steve Nash said it once before. They always had it in them, and I believe the Suns have it in them, and they can do it. And I really hope they do well. I hope they keep their composure and make the big shot and don't get a little frustrated because it's a very experienced team.
Let me ask you, Mike, years and years ago, Ali almost fought Wilt Chamberlain. I know you're a big Shaquille O'Neal fan. What would happen if Shaq, who's considered the biggest and most powerful guy, would get in the ring with you?
And the Marcus of Queensberry? Oh, he has to retire then. He has to retire. I love him. I can't do that.
Who are you picking in the finals?
Oh, man. In the finals, Miami all the way.
Is that because you're finals of Shaq?
Yeah, but I love this team. I would love them to have the privilege just to play with them in the finals, but I'm a 100% Shaq fan.
All right, Mike, great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Huge block by Amari Stoudemire. Back to you, Mike.
Jim, thank you. Of course, he had that one block in Game 4 that was pretty special. That time, though, swatting it out of bounds. He needs to, like so many young players, control those where he keep it in play.
Well, when you watch Alonzo Mourning, who's not a young player to it, who's supposed to be your role model in that?
All right, I'll change that to all players. Ginobili on the floater. And Sean Marion, the rebound. Marion said it earlier, he's not scoring as much, but still doing a great job on the boards. He's got 5 already.
Mike, it's a violent game, basketball, until you come in contact with the ball. Then it's like Dr. J says on the T-Love commercials, it's a game of love. And caressing.
Are you going to hug me now? 5.5 remaining here in the second. Duncan getting a breather for San Antonio. Remember, Nash playing with 2 fouls, although Nash hasn't fouled out of a game in 5 years.
Hesitation on the perimeter for the Spurs.
Parker puts it in. If he's hitting that shot and you're forced to come out on him, that's trouble.
It's one thing to hit one or two. Is he going to hit them all game long? Teams tend to panic too much. Beautiful pass by Nash.
And Stoudemire, that's the part of his game he added this year.
Imagine when he starts adding the rebounds and the position defense and the analytical approach to how he's going to stop a Duncan or a Shaquille O'Neal.
Ginobili against Jimmy Jackson.
Ginobili continuing to struggle.
Parker, oh, tough shot won't go. Nash looking to break.
Joe Johnson has changed everything.
And Nash gets by Ginobili. Wild shot, he puts it in. 16 points for Nash here in the first half.
That was Wayne Gretzky.
Horry posting up Joe Johnson. Bowen for three. And Antonio, 4 of 9 from three-point range. Nash tried to thread the needle in a turnover. Only the third. They turn it right back.
Find a guard. Find a guard. Like this one.
Nash kicks it out. Marion for three. They're just 1 of 7 from downtown.
And those shots aren't close. Richardson, Jim Jackson. A belated timeout. Tony Parker wanted to go and everybody else was walking back to the bench.
And you can see a 20-second timeout from Greg Popovich. With just over 3.5 remaining in the second. Steve Nash, 16 points and 4 assists already. The relationship of those two so important to the success of San Antonio. Meanwhile, we'll tell you Thursday, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5. They go back to Miami. Pistons and Heat tied at 2. The game on TNT starting at 8 Eastern. And Friday on ESPN, if Phoenix wins tonight, they'll be back in San Antonio for Game 6, 9 Eastern start on that one.
You talked about the relationship as Ginobili continues to have difficulty finding his rhythm. But to have Greg Popovich be able to call out Tim Duncan in front of the entire team and have Tim respond in a positive, constructive manner, that speaks volumes. Offensive foul.
Duncan will pick up his second. Now, Tony Massenberg, who's played for 12 NBA teams, said in all the places he's been, he's never seen that, where the head coach calls out the team star like Tim Duncan. Massenberg said that's one of the impressive things about Popovich and about Duncan.
I think that's what Phil Jackson, one of Phil Jackson's real strengths was.
Joe Johnson can't hit.
But when you have a star like Duncan, who's only concerned with winning, that's great defense by Steve Nash.
Parker. And they call another offensive foul. Parker pushing off. You know, Nash picked up those 2 quick fouls, but he's not stopped being aggressive defensively.
It's when you're hesitant and reluctant out there. As Tony Parker, that's a very tough call. And Ginobili is irate as can be.
Brent Richardson didn't even
Duncan beside himself.
And that one they should have let go.
Easy to say on a replay.
Stoudemire, a little further out than he normally shoots, not a problem. He's got 15.
Offensive foul, Najee Muhammad.
Just another one.
Pushing 3 straight offensive fouls.
And 4 turnovers in their last 4 trips down the floor. And the aforementioned Tony Massenberg will come in as the 3rd foul on Muhammad.
And a timeout.
Greg Popovich walking out. He's not happy with Greg Willard. All tied up with just under 3 to play in the second.
ESPN, home of the Western Conference Finals. ESPN's presentation of the NBA Western Conference Finals. Brought to you by Fantastic Four. Prepare for the Fantastic on July 8th.
Welcome back to New York. Coming up on the Toyota Halftime Show, it's official. The Cavs have a new head coach, Stephen A. We'll have more on the status of Larry Brown. We'll talk first half.
Yeah, it's been a great first half so far. Obviously, this game's definitely going to come down to the wires. Probably the best first half Phoenix has played at home in this series. But I'm scared about right now for them because Tim Duncan is going off.
Well, not only that, it's a top basketball game, and you don't have a lot going on from Tony Parker right now. He's really been ineffective in this game. He's going to have to amp it up a little bit if they want to win.
If he amps it up, I expect San Antonio to win. Just a thought.
It's over. It's over. Just remember that. We'll talk more at halftime. Guys, Mike and Bill, back to you.
John, thanks. Parker just 3 of 10 from the field. And Ginobili just 2 of 7 from the field. He's done some other things, but they do need those two to play well.
They're not getting it done on the offensive end while they have throughout the series. These are outstanding numbers. Tremendous field goal percentage. Moving the ball around. But with them not doing it tonight and still tied at this point, that's a very good sign for San Antonio. But never discount the whole court.
Ginobili does have 4 assists, a couple of steals, 3 rebounds, so he does other things when he's not scoring.
And it's harder to win on the road later in the series.
Nash, the floater over Duncan. And there's another rebound for Ginobili. Ginobili, by the way, got a haircut.
I asked him about that. He said no, he did not. He just wetted it down so it would stay close. He said he's not going to cut his hair until the finals are over.
It looks like he cut. I was going to say he didn't get his money's worth. Stoudemire the rebound.
I thought he did, so I went up and asked him. I said, when did you get your haircut? He said, I didn't. I just put some water on it to keep it down a little bit.
Parker trying to hound Nash.
I wonder if that would work on me.
Stoudemire again rattles it in. Amari Stoudemire, 17 points.
Popovich is just beside himself with the lack of defense here. The role that Stoudemire's on, you have to put more pressure on him. Great hands, Duncan.
Marion the block. Stoudemire the block.
Massenberg just not ready to shoot at this point. He's been sitting out so much.
Massenberg hasn't played the series yet. Ginobili with 2 on the shot clock, knocks down a 3.
They didn't even know it. The whole bench had to came rushing up. PJ Carlissimo, Bud, Popovich, everybody.
Spurs back up by 1. Nice pass, and Stoudemire fouled. It is unbelievable how he just threads the needle. And Stoudemire will shoot 2.
Mike, you're not old enough to remember this player, but Spencer Haywood, when he came onto the scene out of Detroit in the late 60s, did things like this. Now, he's obviously many generations later, and Amari is bigger than Spencer, but the hands and the power and just gliding above everybody to throw down these dunks. And there was no stopping him. The numbers that Spencer put up before he got hurt. Everybody knows Spencer changed the game legally by allowing free agents and the underclassmen to come up. But Spencer also changed it with his remarkable power, grace, and skill.
And Stoudemire doing everything. Want to remind you, tune in to catch the best of women's basketball when the LA Sparks take on the Monarchs. Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Coming up on a minute remaining here in the second. Stoudemire having another huge scoring game against the Spurs. Bowen. And Duncan couldn't control it. Duncan upset. He fell on his last touch by Stoudemire.
Spurs on the short end of a lot of these calls right now, but you got to play through it.
Duncan, that's as mad as I've seen him. He just went back, yelled at Dick Bavetta, and pumped his fist. Nash on the pull-up.
Steve Nash's decision-making tonight is flawless. You do that one pass, a long, deep one across the middle in transition that was a turnover. But this guy is on fire, showing why he's the MVP.
Nash and Stoudemire have 37 of the Suns' 48 points.
Stoudemire has to be very careful here. This is where Duncan can draw a foul by going to the hoop.
Ginobili for 3. Massenberg on the rebound, and that's his first field goal of the playoffs. Massenberg playing because of the foul trouble. Stoudemire! And a blocking foul called. Ginobili gets up by 8. Stoudemire bounces up and will go back to the free throw line.
When you're with Amari Stoudemire off the court in the locker room and just hanging around, you're amazed at the boundless energy he has. I mean, he's been playing the whole game. Again, players running underneath guys. I just don't like that kind of basketball. Make a play to stop the ball. Don't undercut somebody. And if you can't make the play, then let it go and get it back in the transition game the other way.
Well, he tried to get in there before Stoudemire went up. That's Ginobili's first foul. Stoudemire perfect from the line now. He's got 20 points in the first half. 31.3 seconds remaining. Stoudemire and Steve Nash again doing the bulk of the scoring. Suns by 3.
I don't think that's going to be enough, Mike. I think they're going to need somebody coming up with something. Joe Johnson and Sean Marion to get this done, because you know the Spurs are going to be strong down the stretch. They are backing off everybody for San Antonio. Nobody wants to shoot.
Ginobili gets inside, lost it, stripped by Johnson, but Duncan right there to pick it up.
Push the ball. If you're Steve Nash right here, he takes a quick look at the clock.
Plenty of time, shot clock turned off. Stoudemire and a travel. Starting to go a little too quickly, and the Spurs have plenty of time.
He received the ball too far away. When you're a front court player, your constant mental process is never receive the ball when you can't do something that you're capable of with it.
Well, the Spurs did a good job of getting Nash to pick up his dribble.
He takes Steve Nash out to protect the foul situation.
Suns, meanwhile, have a foul to give here.
Why isn't there no pressure on the ball? Why don't you meet these guys in the backcourt? You're going to allow Tony Parker to get a run at you? They can back the ball up.
Again, they have a foul to give. Duncan does not get it off in time. And poor execution on the final play. The Phoenix Suns back home, energized by their crowd. And led once again by the veteran Steve Nash and the amazing Amari Stoudemire. Let's go right now to Jim Gray.
All right, thanks, Mike. Steve Nash with 18 points. You and Amari have 39 of your 50 points. Will that be a winning combination, or do you have to get some other guys involved?
No, we're just setting it up for the rest of our guys to come through.
Steve, let me ask you, you guys came out tonight, fell behind once again, used some energy here. Why does that keep happening, and how do you avoid that from happening here to start the third quarter?
Well, if we played a worse team, maybe we'd never fall behind, but they're pretty good, so we have a hard time sometimes, but we're right there. I mean, it's a one-point game, and we're winning.
Last question, are you guys going to allow these guys to shoot those three-pointers like they did here in the first half and the second half?
We'd rather them have contested threes than layups, so, you know, that's kind of the game plan. We don't want Tim get a bunch of layups or Tony or Manuel. We'd rather have them shoot contested threes.
All right, Steve, thanks. Good luck in the second half. Back to you, Mike.
All right, Chip, coming up at half, the Toyota halftime show. Then back to the studio. John Saunders, Greg Anthony, Tim Legler, and Stephen A. Smith will talk about the new man in Cleveland and more on Larry Brown. Halftime of Game 5. The Phoenix Suns know that no team in NBA history has ever come back from an 0-3 deficit to win a best-of-7 series. But they won Game 4, and they're playing well in their home court in Game 5. One game at a time for the Phoenix Suns. And at the half, they lead by 1.
Welcome to the Toyota Halftime Show.
And welcome back. Tim Duncan having a big night. 18 points and 9 rebounds, but his Spurs trail 50-49. And welcome back to Times Square. And this crowd is ready for halftime, as we are as well. The Toyota Halftime Show. John Saunders, Tim Legler, Greg Anthony, and Stephen A. Smith's fan club down there rooting and cheering. They saw you make the free throw before. That's how they knew it was good.
Stick around. You'll see me make a lot more.
All right. Let's set the record straight right now here. It was my partner here, Tim Legler, who first made the comparison between Steve Nash and Wayne Gretzky. He even illustrated how they were very much similar. And right now, Steve Nash has 18 points and 6 assists. He's Gretzky-esque again.
Well, that is why I made the comparison in the first first place because he has an ability to really control the game when the ball is in his hand, not just with finding people. He can also score. And when he has it, he knows where everybody else is. And it almost looks like the game slowed down for him in the postseason to where he saw everything a couple steps ahead of time. I had never seen a point guard play in that kind of a zone. And really, that's what Wayne Gretzky was, a point guard on the ice.
Definitely. But looking at this game from the perspective of the San Antonio Spurs, although Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili aren't shooting the ball very well, they're doing two things extremely well as a team. One, they're dominating the offensive backboards, 10-5 in that area where they've gotten 15 a game in this series thus far. And secondly, they've limited the three-point attempts of the Phoenix Suns, only 7 in that first half, of which they made 1. They have to improve on those areas, Phoenix, if they want to win
Another
this game.
thing they should be concerned about is the fact that Sean Murray and Q Richardson are giving you absolutely nothing. They've combined for 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting. I know Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash are doing their thing, but still, one of those two need to do something in order for them to push this to Game 6.
Yeah, it's probably not good to have 39 of your points, 39 of your 50 points coming from 2 guys. The Pistons and the Heat, they'll play a Game 5 tomorrow. In Game 4, Pistons got out early. They were able to run. They were able to control the glass. And Shaq spent most of his time on the bench in foul problem.
I think the key really was the fact that the Detroit Pistons played so efficiently offensively because now you forced the Miami Heat to play against that set-up half-court defense, which is so tough to score against. They had no turnovers in the first half. You're getting field goal attempts every time. Difficult to get out and run on you.
It is tough, and they were very efficient, again, as Timmy said, offensively, but more importantly, they got Rasheed Wallace involved early and often. 20 points in only 22 minutes. They're 7-0 when this guy scores 20 points in the playoffs since he's been with the Pistons.
All right, it's time now for the Toyota Moving Forward feature. It'll take us out to Cleveland, where the Cavaliers have a new head coach. It's Mike Brown, assistant at Indiana, been a long-time assistant in the NBA. He will get the task of taking over LeBron James. Now, the question that goes with it is, will his boss be, Stephen A., Larry Brown?
Well, that depends. If health permits, that won't be the case, because if Larry Brown ends up being healthy, he wants to play. He wants to remain a coach. He's more interested in coaching than being the president of basketball operations. Now, however, if he's not healthy enough to be coaching next season, he's going to want to remain in the game, and the Cavaliers are willing to give him anywhere from $8 to $10 million per. And they're willing to fly him on a private jet, have him live back in Philly and fly back and forth to Cleveland whenever he chooses, doesn't even need to live in Cleveland. In other words, $8 to $10 million a year for essentially a part-time job. I don't think that's something you can turn down.
If Larry Brown doesn't take it, I certainly will. They'd like to offer it up. Is there any chance he coaches anywhere other than Detroit if he stays in coaching?
There is a chance. If his health permits and it says that, and the doctors allow him to come back next season and he's feeling well, if things don't work out in Detroit and he has to go elsewhere, New York and L.A. are still the primary candidates for that job. I repeat, New York and Los Angeles, which means they both believe that they're still in the mix because they don't believe he's entirely committed to being the president of basketball operations in Cleveland.
As I said before, it'd be hard to see him coaching somewhere else after winning back-to-back championships, which is still a possibility. Amari Stoudemire, well, he's trying to make sure that the Spurs don't get their 3rd championship. Part of the Suns' 50-49 lead.
The Toyota Halftime Show is brought to you by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's moving forward. Welcome back to the Toyota Halftime Show.
Well, Steve Nash with 18 points and 6 assists rather, here as we continue on the Toyota Halftime Show. Part of a 1-point lead, though, 50-49. Phoenix trying to stay alive and force a Game 6 back in San Antonio. It is time, pretty close to the bottom of the hour, so it's time for our 30 at 30. Let's join John Butchergrass.
Thank you, John. 30 at 30 Sports Center update begins with baseball. The hottest team in baseball, the Texas Rangers, winners of 9 straight as they played in Detroit tonight. But Brandon Inge, the clutch 2-run single in the 7th, makes a winner out of Bonderman. Urbina the save. So the Rangers lose. The Angels win. We have a tie in the AL West. Sammy Sosa, career homer 5, 7-9. And an Oriole win. He's 4 behind McGuire, 7 behind Frank Robinson on the all-time home run list, 21 shy of 600. Brian Westbrook, his 2-month off-season holdout ends. He signs a 1-year deal with the Eagles. He'll take part in their 1-week minicamp. That is 30 at 30 update. Details after the game on SportsCenter.
All right, John, thanks a lot. The second half is coming up. Will Phoenix force a Game 6, or will the Spurs await the winner from the East?
The Toyota Halftime Show is brought to you by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's moving forward. Now, it's time for the McDonald's I'm Lovin' It highlights. Was today's McDonald's I'm Lovin' It highlights.
Halftime of Game 5 from Phoenix. And the Suns trying to keep their season alive, leading the San Antonio Spurs by 1 as we get set for the third quarter. Hi again, everyone, with Bill Walton, Mike Breen on hand as Phoenix playing well once again. But, Bill, you look at what Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire did in that first half. They played terrific, but they're going to need some help.
And they had not gotten that. But in this series, it has been the story of the Stars tonight coming alive. And the city storyline has been for the Valley of the Sun, Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash combining for 39 points. Powerful by Stoudemire, finesse touch by Steve Nash. Then the Alamo City. Manu Ginobili losing the ball, but Tim Duncan, masterful performance with 18 points and 9 rebounds. The three-point shooting, though. San Antonio, very solid. Phoenix, a record-setting team from behind the line this season. 1 for 7. That will not get it done.
It's obviously what the Spurs want to take away. Right now, let's go to Jim.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Here was the message. Robert Horry said that Coach Popovich wanted here in the second half. He said, be smarter in transition. We have to all around get our heads into the game much better. Quit allowing them all of these open three-point shots. As for Mike D'Antoni, his message was, we want to run more. We're playing much too cautiously. We need to push the ball. 1 for 7 for the three-point line. I told him to keep shooting them, but we got to make them here in the second half, Mike.
All right, Jim. Sean Marion, terrific defensive play. And again, that's where Marion's been helping. Stoudemire couldn't handle a pass. Parker pushing. Nice move from Tony Parker.
Going back to Jim Gray's report. What a fantastic attitude by Mike D'Antoni. We're playing too conservative. Shoot more. Run faster. Try something harder. Thank goodness for Mike D'Antoni.
A foul on Parker, his second. But that's what he said the key was for Game 4. They, for the first time in the series, pushed the tempo as hard as they did during the regular season. But the Spurs have a lot to do with that.
Greg Popovich at the top of the pack right now of NBA coaches on his way one day to the Basketball Hall of Fame. 2 titles already. Backcourt comparison tonight. Ginobili and Parker. They have been outplaying Nash and Johnson up to this point, but since Joe Johnson has come back to full health, it has been a different story.
Nash. Shot clock at 6. Nash inside. Can't get their own. Stoudemire blocked by Duncan. Gets it back again. And a foul call. So Stoudemire will go back to the line. This one is against Nazr Mohammed, and that's going to be his 4th.
Watch Amari Stoudemire's feet. He's jumping off of 2 feet that are already planted.
Well, he looked like he picked up his pivot foot there.
I disagree with that. That's what you want, is that back foot, that momentum foot is what gets you the power and explosiveness. You only need 1 to stay on the ground.
Mohammed has had a rough night with a foul, so he's going to have to come out again. He's only played 12 minutes. Like Popovich going with Robert Horry.
I think the distressing thing for San Antonio is that the Suns are getting stronger.
And here's the key number 2, Phil, is
only 4 free throws attempted.
And that's the difference, like what Phoenix is doing defensively. Again, they're letting Tony Parker have the outside shot. They don't want him in the paint.
Your mindset, a player on the road, get to the free throw line. That pushes the crowd back in their seats and allows you to dictate tempo. Spurs haven't been able to do it.
Again, look how far off Johnson's playing Parker. He had an open 20-footer but wouldn't take it. Horry Nice finish.
Now, because of the foul trouble to the outstanding Nazir Mohammed, we're seeing the Spurs finishing team right at the start of the second half. Nash missed 2 easy shots for him.
Stoudemire takes it away. Ginobili looked like he had secured the rebound.
If you're out hustling Manu Ginobili, you really got it going.
Nash gets inside. Lefty.
3 wild shots now can't go down. And they're calling out against the Spurs.
That's Parker's 3rd foul.
Popovich is saying, play through it. It's not happening for us right now. We're right there. We've got a 1-point lead. Foul trouble to Mohammed. Foul trouble to Parker. A wild foray in there. Hard to see how that's a foul on Tony Parker.
He pushed off at the end as Nash stopped the travel. Only the 6th turnover for Phoenix. Again, Parker's foul, his 3rd, and the team already with 3.
I like what Phoenix's defensive strategy is. Make Tim Duncan beat you as a scorer. Nobody else has gotten off. Bowen's got 3 points. Mohammed just got a couple.
Nice pass, Robert Horry. And Ginobili finding the open spot. Ginobili now with 10.
Expect Robert Horry to have a huge role here.
Bruce Bowen called for the foul. That's his first, and already 4 team fouls for the Spurs, and we played just over 2 minutes here in the period.
Spurs have been in this championship position before. On the road. Must-win game for the opposition, up against all forces out there. Play your way through it.
Nash.
3 seconds.
Shot clock at 7. Stoudemire lost it. Ginobili. Suns do a good job getting back on defense.
Well, the Suns have come to life. They're physically back into this.
Parker again left open. And Johnson the rebound. Tony Parker 4 for 12 from the field.
And nowhere else really to go. Maybe Beno Udrih, who did well, but I'm just going to kill Tony Parker's confidence if you take him out because he's playing poorly.
The Suns now 0 for 6 from the field here in the 3rd quarter with 2 turnovers, so not been able to score. With the exception of a couple of free throws.
This is where, with Parker, Tim Duncan has got to go over to Tony Parker and say, let's get it going. Enough of this.
Duncan, instead of that, takes it himself. And the Spurs lead by 5.
Look at the use of the foot by Tim Duncan to get the momentum that Amari Stoudemire can't get himself.
Stoudemire with the jumper. One was halfway down before it popped out.
That was as far down as Robert Horry's Lakers shot against the Spurs a couple of years ago.
Off Bowen's foot. Oh, they say off Nash's foot, and Nash agrees with Dick Bavetta.
Get the ball to Duncan early.
Horry can't get at the fall of Sean Marion with his 6th rebound. Marion again not scoring, only 4 points, but he's done other things tonight. Johnson on the pull-up.
That pull-up play, one-peck dribble, the Michael Finley play for Dallas. That's what Quentin Richardson needs to learn how to do.
And that's why they miss Joe Johnson. Just one of the many reasons they miss him, because Quentin Richardson and Jimmy Jackson are spot-up shooters. Johnson is so valuable to the team because he does so many different things that other players on the team do not.
I thought he was their 4th best player behind Sean Marion. This series has changed my thinking on that. Turnover Spurs.
I don't believe that was deflected, so it's out of bounds. Base Parker went after it, so they'll get inbound on their own baseline. The Spurs have had stretches as Mohammed sits with the 4 fouls. Remember in the first round against Denver, they lost game 1, so they had to bounce back. Remember in the second round against Seattle, they lost games 3 and 4, and the Sonics are playing well. So they faced adversity in some of the playoffs in earlier rounds. Nash trying to find an opening. Left-handed, short.
Nash not finishing on the offensive end. That's 4 misses that he usually converts great regularity.
And Parker loves that little floater.
And because Nash was down and put his teammates in an untenable defensive transition situation. Size on Nash.
And Nash drops it in. 20 for Nash.
We've seen it over the years. Phil Jackson had that. It put Ron Harper and Scottie Pippen on John Stockton. Seen other teams trying to do it to Steve Nash now. What the Suns are doing to the Spurs and Tony Parker.
The extra pass, Parker for three. And Tony Parker knocks down the three-pointer. Parker just 2 for 9 from three-point range in the series coming into Game 5.
As a big man, you can't think you can put the ball on the floor more than once. One dribble and up.
Parker again, back-to-back threes for Parker. And San Antonio with their largest lead of the game. Parker 10 points in just over 5 minutes here in the third quarter. They have dared him to shoot, Bill, and now he's making them pay.
Tony Parker, the floater, the teardrop in the lane. No matchup whatsoever. Steve Nash late to the ball. The great ball movement by the San Antonio Spurs. Just stepping back and saying, yeah, you're going to make me take it? I'll make you pay. Suns in trouble.
Greg Popovich hoping for his third title as an NBA head coach. One of the reasons he's successful, his players improve, although it's not always easy, especially for some international starting guards.
At the beginning, we didn't go along so well because we had very different styles.
Pop, very tough. You know, he really wants to win.
Inside the court, I was a little worried. I thought we were never gonna agree.
He just like screamed at me all the time because he wants so much, and it was kind of tough at the beginning, but it makes me like improve and get better faster.
That was my first impression, but after a while, we all about the same thing, that is winning and doing the best for the team. So I adjust a little bit to him. I think he gave up a little bit to adjust towards me.
Greg Popovich has certainly given up some, as Manu Ginobili has shown what a spectacular player he is. You have to loosen the reins a bit, but young players, rambunctious as they are, same as young people. They don't want to hear it from old guys.
You were once a young rambunctious player. I've heard stories.
And my coaches, the John Woodens, the Lenny Wilkins, the Jack Ramseys, the Casey Joneses, they never let up. They just stayed on me, and I thank them for it today. Not only for their discipline and enduring lessons, but also for their patience.
Meanwhile, Stoudemire didn't have much patience on that shot. Rushed it. Spurs outscored them 16-6 here. Another deflection. And there's where the Suns are not a great defensive team. We know that. But they've got quickness, and those kind of deflections can start fast breaks.
Look at the defensive matchup here. They got Robert Horry on Steve Nash, and they're going to make him into a scorer here. I don't think the problem so much is the Suns' defense. I think it's the fact that they've scored just 6 points here in the first 6 minutes of the third quarter. They're an offensive squad.
And they're making Nash try to beat him with the shot as opposed to the pass.
Which is the same way I would play Duncan. Make him beat you with his points. Same way playing against Shaq. Don't let Shaq and Nash beat you with their passing. That puts no pressure on them whatsoever.
Meanwhile, Mike D'Antoni, Bill, sending in Jimmy Jackson to help with the scoring. Quentin Richardson, who has not scored in 24 minutes, 0 for 3 from the field, will sit down.
Well, we'll have to get a report from Jim Gray to see if there's an injury over there or something.
Parker way off the mark. Couldn't track it down and hit the baseline. And Parker does a nice job running into one of the photographers along the baseline, checks to make sure they're okay. Let's send it over to Jim.
Mike, Bill's right. Quentin Richardson hurt his right knee and his right ankle in that collision in the second quarter. Said it hasn't been the same since. It is bothering him, but he's going to continue to play. Mike.
Thank you, Jim.
Bowen's defense. Now, that's the kind of preparation you do against a top player that Stoudemire needs to pick up on.
Ball denial from Bowen. He's as good as it gets on the perimeter in the NBA. The ball denial. Shot clock down to 2. Johnson's not going to get it off. And there was a nice clinic on how to play defense, that entire sequence from Bowen.
And the amazing thing about it is that Bowen never gets credit because he doesn't lead the league in steals, not up there leading the league in block shots, but he is just doing everything he can to keep his man from ever getting anything going. As a defensive player,
well, he's starting to get credit. He was second in the league in voting for Defensive Player of the Year. He's all NBA defense first team.
They give the credit to the guys who smashed the ball down.
Bowen. He had 15 points in game 4, and that's a two-pointer.
And when I was talking with Bruce before the game, I said, well, what happened with the letdown? He said it was a lack of attention to detail. Dribble handoff, beautifully executed by Nash. But Ory's everywhere defensively.
Johnson. And it's still Suns ball. The Suns, Bill, in the first half had only 5 turnovers. They have 5 turnovers already here in the third.
And that was the way they got themselves in trouble in the losses, was the start of the game, the start of the third. I know you always scoff at me. The start of the third quarter in a deciding playoff game, there's nothing on earth like that.
Bowen with the block, Barry with the save. And Bill, the third quarter in game 4 was the key one for Phoenix. So far, it's been the key one for San Antonio in game 5.
Outscored them by 14, got 35 points in that game.
Duncan just saves it. Crowd wanted a backcourt, but he didn't go to the line. And then a foul, and a hard one, as Duncan goes down.
The game right now is all San Antonio because of the attention to detail of Duncan, Ory, and Bruce Bowen. Here's a guy who's a full 7 feet tall, and he's going against somebody who's quicker, who's younger, who's healthier, who has unlimited physical capabilities in Amari Stoudemire, and Tim Duncan is looking at him, giving him a shake and bake like Steve Nash. Say, this is how you play this game, young man.
Stoudemire with his second foul, and they try and increase their largest lead. Knocks down a first. Thursday on TNT, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5. It's the Pistons and the Heat. They're back in Miami. 8 Eastern start. That series tied at 2 games apiece. And then Friday on ESPN, of course, if necessary, Suns have to win tonight. They'll go back to San Antonio for Game 6 and on Eastern start on ESPN.
Which Piston team will show up? Which Piston coach will show up?
The lead is now 13, largest of the game. And the Suns having a disastrous offensive quarter. They're 2 for 15 from the field here in the third. The Spurs defense has been terrific. Stoudemire. And there's a contact, the blocking foul. Call it against Duncan. Robert Ory raised his hand. He wanted to be the one to accept the foul, but Duncan picks up his third.
Even though you're getting a trip to the line here, it's just a wild play down the lane. Duncan, from that angle, I just cannot see where the foul on Duncan, who slides him to his weak hand.
You see that left arm.
You know, people in San Antonio are sitting on the Riverwalk saying, how about the shoulder and the elbow into Duncan's chin?
People in the Riverwalk are having a margarita. They could care less right now.
What's that?
So Duncan's going to sit.
3 fouls. Nazir Muhammad has 4, so major problems up front. This is not a big and deep team. And if the Spurs do indeed move on against the big, powerful bullies from the East, how will that play out?
That ends a 10-0 run.
What's really in San Antonio's favor right now is the crowd is losing their steam.
Parker, good defense from Joe Johnson. Barry, shot clock at 3. Parker, contested shot, air ball.
Trouble by picking up his dribble in the paint.
Johnson steps back for 3. And Johnson looked like he got hit afterwards.
That was D'Antoni and Mark Ivaroni's complaint.
And Greg Popovich quickly calls a timeout. Joe Johnson, his return, what a boost it's been. Certainly in game 4. And that 3-pointer makes it an 8-point game.
Is there anything Joe Johnson can't do? With the season on the line right here. Should have been a foul. Possible 4-point play opportunity.
You're watching the Western Conference Finals on ESPN. ESPN's presentation of the NBA Western Conference Finals, brought to you by KFC. Try the new Blazing Buffalo Boneless Wings and shatter your game time hunger. And the hilarious comedy Be Cool on DVD June 7th.
The Phoenix Suns trying to come back from 13 down. They trail by 8, just over 3.5 remaining in the third. Of course, they're trying to remain confident, still believing they can extend the series. Not only after tonight. We're on to Game 6 in San Antonio. This is the message board in the Suns locker room. The practice already scheduled for tomorrow.
Well, you can make all the schedules you want, but unless you control the paint and get something off your bench, it's not going to work for Phoenix. They have 0 points from the guys on the bench, and there's 7 of them over there. San Antonio's got 12 points in the paint tonight, plus 14 for San Antonio. Tim Duncan's sitting on the bench right now. They've come back with Nazir Muhammad.
In Game 6 against Dallas, that clinched that series, Marion lost it. Horry gets it back, and Robert Horry can't finish. They were down 16 in the third quarter on the road, came back and won and clinched that series. They can score points in a hurry. Highest scoring team in the NBA in the last 10 years. That's Ginobili to steal.
That Dallas game was a game they didn't have to win.
Ginobili steps back. And a foul called on Stoudemire. So Stoudemire picks up his third. Ginobili to the free throw line for the first time tonight.
Spurs have only taken 6 free throw attempts. Mike D'Antoni frustrated with the ability of Ginobili to get the attention of the referees. Tim Duncan back into the game right now. Suns perfect at the free throw line tonight. But in this game, you're not shooting a lot of free throws. I think that helps the road team.
Well, but this road team wants to get to the line more.
I know that's
the first.
But nobody's shooting free throws here. So there's not a great disparity. It's not as if the road team is not getting to the free throw line and the home team is living at the line.
Here's Ginobili's numbers. Lead back up to 10.
Versatility of the Spurs. So many different ways they can beat you. Parker had his flag. Ginobili there. Duncan just back in. You know he'll be a stat machine. Where's it going to come from the Phoenix Suns? Stoudemire's gone cold here.
Johnson kicks it out. Jimmy Jackson nails a three. It's only their third three-pointer of the game, but it pulls them within 7. And Jackson with his first field goal.
3 for 10 on threes. This is a record-setting team.
Jackson had the big game in that come from behind against Dallas. He had a lot of big threes in that one.
And you would think that Jackson would come alive with the return of Joe Johnson.
The perfect pick and roll. And Ginobili to Duncan. Duncan now at 24.
You're going to double team Manu Ginobili and leave Duncan open for a dunk? I don't understand that.
Jackson again. Back-to-back threes. And that crowd you spoke over a few minutes ago, Bill, is coming back alive. Under 2 to play here in the third. Brent Barry wide open for 3. Barry had that big game 1 where he had 21 points. And he puts the Spurs lead back up to 9.
Brent was very quiet in the last game. Surprising. This is the kind of basketball he lives for. Just an incredibly cerebral player. Great pedigree, background, Brent Barry. What an addition and pickup he's been.
Alley-oop to Marion. Has to gather himself. What a tough play.
No. One of the few times in this series that Shawn Marion has converted on his first attempt.
Marion just 6 points. Greg Popovich yelling at Tony Parker to push the ball up the floor.
And what a breath of fresh air that is. Coaches encouraging their teams to run.
Parker gets caught inside. Barry, shot clock down to 3. Ginobili, way off. Nazir Muhammad with the save. Terrific play from Muhammad.
That was the same spot in one of the first 2 games here that Brent Barry out-hustled Jim Jackson to save a game victory.
Muhammad playing with the 4 fouls, the runner, and Marion the rebound.
Signs of life from Shawn Marion. That can only be good news for Phoenix fans.
Nash looking. Marion for 3. Won't go. Jackson tips it out to Joe Johnson. And it's still Phoenix ball.
A very risky tip by Jim Jackson. That ball had to travel 20 to 25 feet on that controlled tip by Jim Jackson.
But you know what? I don't think he could have grabbed the rebound. That was probably his only play. So Jackson's hit a couple of threes here in the third. Nash just keeps putting pressure on the defense over and over again. It's inside. And he got hit in the head. That's the 5th foul on Muhammad. Nash will go to the line. One of the best free throw shooters in NBA history.
Nazr Mohammed is an outstanding basketball player. He knew he was in trouble. A hard hit to the head there. But Nazr Mohammed, you're just isolated out there on an island. Big guy away from the hoop against Steve Nash. And when he starts backing up and licking his finger, you just said he was one of the best free throw shooters in history.
Correct? A rare miss for Steve Nash as Horry comes back in. 21.6 remaining. Been a long night for Muhammad with the foul problems.
But this is a guy who never really hurts you, Nazr Mohammed.
Shot clock turned off. Suns have a foul to give, trailing by 6.
Joe Jackson just continues to back off Tony Parker.
Now Jimmy Jackson gets out of bottom, and there's the foul to give.
Something they didn't use at the end of the first half. It didn't cost them even.
Again, for those new to watching the NBA, you get 5 fouls on the 5th foul in each quarter. You shoot in the penalty. But if you don't have, say, only 2 or 3 through most of the quarter, it's the 2nd foul in the last 2 minutes. Hence the foul to give Frazier here.
Get ready, guys!
Ginobili gets inside. Oh, what a play from Ginobili.
The extension. Finding the seam.
And Nash does not get it off in time. That would not have counted. What will end the 3rd quarter?
How about putting a pin into the bubble right here? Dagger by Ginobili.
A beautiful move to the basket from Manu Ginobili. As the 3rd quarter comes to an end, Spurs led by as many as 13. Suns came back strong, cut it to 6. But as we head to the 4th, it's an 8-point lead. Will it be the final quarter of the season for the Phoenix Suns? Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. 4th quarter coming up when we return. Their feet at America West Arena in a game you can see in high definition. The Phoenix Suns trying to extend their season, extend this series. They trail by 8 as we begin the 4th. The Spurs, meanwhile, trying to make their 3rd trip to the NBA Finals in the past 7 years.
And the Spurs are the ones who were dominating statistically as Steve Nash will get a little bit of rest there. That is a common pose for him. That We Believe poster is about to be tested because the Spurs are out shooting them by 6 percentage points, are out rebounding them by 4, plus 16 points in the paint. And Stoudemire and Steve Nash only had 7 points in the entire 3rd quarter after combining for 39 in the first half.
Parker trying to find some room. Poked away by Stoudemire.
Transition, Duncan's behind the play.
Marion.
They can't capitalize. That's great team transition defense by San Antonio.
And a big difference from what Greg Popovich saw in Game 4. Stoudemire goes right at Duncan. 27 for Stoudemire.
The only guy that can do something like that to Tim Duncan is Tim Duncan.
Nice feed to Horry. And a foul. Marion hit him. What a beautiful pass from Ginobili. And Robert Horry with a chance for the 3-point play.
While Ginobili has had a quiet offensive game, just 5 for 12 shooting, the slip pick by Robert Horry, who's playing a ton of minutes tonight because of the foul trouble to Nazr Mohammed, will earn his own trip to the free throw line here. 34 years old, Robert Horry. 5 NBA championships already, including 2 of them in his 2nd and 3rd years playing alongside Akeem Olajuwon.
He says one of the keys for his success in the playoffs is that he limits contact with his family and friends during the playoffs. Shuts off his cell phone, doesn't go out much. Now, isn't it true when you played, your family requested that you limited contact during the offseason?
They wish that there was more games.
Horry again making a big play. 7 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. And lead back up to 9.
I'm with you and Robert Horry on that. I didn't want anything going on in my life other than give me that ball.
It's easy to get distracted. Johnson over Udrih comes up short.
Udrih has played outstanding in limited minutes tonight.
He only played 7 minutes, but he's had an impact.
Jumpers, he's 2 for 2.
Duncan. And a foul. Tim Duncan able to put it in. Stoudemire went for the steal, and Duncan instead with a chance for a three-point play.
And look at Bruce Bowen calling Barry and Manu Ginobili over to the bench there. Stoudemire, again, behind the play. The positioning, when you're going to play against Duncan, who is phenomenally talented in everything, you have got to position yourself before he gets the ball. You can't rely on your remarkable athleticism at the end of the play.
Stoudemire picks up his 4th foul. There you see Duncan hasn't been to the line much tonight. He's done a good job. Overall, he has been just terrific. 26 points, 11 rebounds.
But the game went 15 for 15, and they barely won that game.
No problem tonight from the line. And the lead back up to 12.
How long can D'Antoni go with Nash on the bench?
Johnson handling the point. Again, one of the roles that he plays, why they missed him so much. He's the backup point guard. Stoudemire with 6 on the shot clock. Makes his move inside.
That's the one dribble play that we were talking about. Just put it down and get in the air. Most guys have to shoot a shot.
So explosive.
Not like those guys.
Barry kicks it out. Ginobili right back. Barry takes his time on a 3. And Jimmy Jackson the rebound.
But the only guy I've seen in today's game who's anywhere closer to Amari Stoudemire is Dwight Howard, the young rookie from Orlando.
Stoudemire again to the basket. And Eddie Rush was about to call a foul. Instead, he just called a deflection. It looked like his hand was come up to signal a foul.
This is just great defense here. Tim Duncan, knowing that Amari Stoudemire has not mastered the stop, pivot back, and deliver the jump hook like McHale or Akeem Olajuwon, he knows he's going to bring the ball right into him. That's a block every time.
Stoudemire again. This time goes at Robert Horry. Oh, Amari Stoudemire.
Excuse me, I didn't think Amari had that play. But that is a move.
Once again, over 30 points every game this series. He's got 31. Duncan way short.
And like the game 3 down in San Antonio, the Suns playing outstanding ball without Steve Nash.
Jackson trying to find some room. And Jackson, tough shot. That's not really his game. It's Barry, the tough rebound.
Udrih, Barry, Horry off the bench. Magnificent contribution for Popovich.
Horry, nice left hand, but can't finish. Just over 3 minutes gone by Horry. Again, that left shoulder hurting him. Until he gets the ball again. Stoudemire drives hard. He didn't have to do that. He could have gone straight in.
I thought he was going to break the basket with another rim-rattling dunk.
Udrih. Oh, beautiful shot. Bano Udrih.
Duncan is down. You got to go. You can't wait for him to get back up.
And again, without Nash, the push isn't there. Clint Richardson in the game. He's really limp because he comes up the floor. Joe Johnson gets the roll. Pretty play from Johnson. Teams now just exchanging baskets.
One of the problems that Phoenix has, timeout here by San Antonio. Phoenix does not run off rebounds. They run off made baskets and they run off turnovers by the other team. San Antonio, they don't turn the ball over.
Well, the Suns run a lot more with Steve Nash. Nash looks like he's coming back in the game. They'll lead him. His team down 8. You had the feeling after Game 4 and the struggles Tim Duncan had, he would explode in Game 5. And our GMC Game Track shows us that Tim Duncan has been superb tonight.
A complete exhibition of brilliance. The numbers don't even speak to the leadership aspects. Amari Stoudemire, the rising sun here, just putting it on the deck and exploding. Nobody can do anything about that. Points in the paint, plus 16 for San Antonio. Statistics continue to favor the Spurs. That doesn't even mention the plus 14 on bench points tonight. The depth, the completeness, the versatility, and the variety of the Spurs game rising here as Steve Nash tries to turn things around. Only 3 points in the second half for little Steve. 1 for 6 shooting.
Nash has played all but 5 minutes in tonight's game. Udrich remains in the game for San Antonio.
Why take him out? He hasn't done anything wrong.
Nash kicked it, so the shot clock will remain at 15. Stephen Hunter's in the game now to give Stoudemire a little rest on guarding Duncan. Stoudemire's guarding Ori.
Stoudemire also has 4 fouls. They need him.
Chance of defense here in Phoenix. Not a chance you heard all that often this season. Ginobili. Excellent defense from Sean Marion. Duncan lost it. Got it back. And with the shot clock winding down, can't hit. And a loose ball foul on Robert Horry.
Duncan is down.
And Tim Duncan did not see what he hurt, but he's obviously in some pain. And a 20-second timeout has been called. Waiting to see if he walks with a limp. He's obviously okay to get up.
He's had 3 sprained ankles on his right side this year. Landing very awkwardly from that angle. We can't see. Oh, the kick right to the groin.
Yep.
A very effective defensive technique.
That one has to hurt. Obviously it does. And he's going to be hurt for a while now. He's going to sit down for at least 1 possession. He doesn't go to the bench, so he's going to come in at the next whistle. They did not charge them with a timeout on that play. Stoudemire. Short. Robert Horry is having one of those games where he does a little bit of everything.
Which is probably why he had to go to the bench to sit down for that possession.
Exactly, Bill. It's Ginobili. Can't hit the 3. Nash the rebound.
Again, they just don't run off the rebounds.
And Udrich with the foul to get Duncan back in the game.
The Suns' big men are not great rebounders to begin with. They're not particularly good outlet passers. Steve Nash has to run back to get the ball to try to get into transition. And against a team committed to transition defense like San Antonio is tonight, very difficult to play your game.
Parker back in along with Duncan. Still plenty of time remaining. Spurs defending the pick and roll well there. Except Parker now on Stoudemire. Duncan with the help defense, the block. Hunter draws the foul. Stephen Hunter's had some nice moments in the postseason, getting a chance to play in the most important time of the year.
He's relaxing out there. The game is coming his way. When you play so few minutes, it's basically luck. But right now, he's playing big time.
He doesn't look too relaxed as he goes to the free throw line.
But to see this young man grow from his days at DePaul, and then to go and play and learn from the Grant Hills, the Johnny Davises down in Orlando.
He's only shooting 61% from the line in the postseason.
Only 61? If Shaq or Ben Wallace did that, they'd be having banner headlines. Throw a party.
But hits 1 or 2. And it's a 7-point game as we approach 7 minutes remaining. Ginobili looking for Ori. Ori steps back for 3. In and out. And Duncan the rebound. Tim Duncan with his 12th rebound of the game.
San Antonio's big men, Duncan and Ori, their ability to play the high post and be the swing man just makes everything flow so fluidly.
Ori goes to the rim and rusts a shot. Will set it up.
How long are you going to keep Joe Johnson on the bench over there?
Again, Bill, excellent transition defense by the Spurs. Shot clock down to 6.
Everybody's got their arms up defensively.
Stoudemire blocked by Duncan. Parker on the push shot. Won't go. And Stoudemire there. Duncan may have gotten away with a foul on that rebound, but it's going to be Suns ball. Jimmy Jackson sits and Joe Johnson back in.
It's not like Joe Johnson is going to get tired. This is a 48-minute night for him.
He said when he was out with the injury, it was tough. Stoudemire puts it in. And it's a 5-point game. Amari Stoudemire, another sensational performance. 33 points. And a standing ovation here at America West Arena. This is the closest they've been in the fourth. Ginobili blocked. Stoudemire with the rejection. Still Spurs ball with 11 on the shot clock.
Remarkable.
Timeout.
The times they're changing here. Amari Stoudemire bringing his Suns back single-handedly. Steve Nash hasn't been there, so Amari says, hey, I'm just going to step back and start pulling the trigger. When they come at him on the offensive end, it's Amari Stoudemire waiting patiently, cupping that ball.
Stoudemire with his 4th block of the game. Suns within 5.5 to play. Spurs holding on to a 5-point lead. Just over 5.5 to play in the fourth. Time for tonight's edition of Gatorade Cooler Talk. It's about the great Tim Duncan.
And we've seen everything from Duncan tonight. Rolling in for the sky hook, a la Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Stepping out, hitting the perimeter bank shot. Sam Jones moving off the screen, slicing to the hoop using the offhand. And then setting up his teammate Manu Ginobili. And all else fails, just step right in like Hakeem Olajuwon and Kevin McHale and finish so easily at the hoop. The numbers for Duncan just incredible tonight. 27 points, fabulous percentage, solid from the free throw stripe, 12 boards, 3 blocks, 3 assists, and uncountable leadership.
And Duncan, always so quiet, but we've seen him a couple of times angrily call for the ball. He wants it down the stretch. It's something you didn't see from him several years ago. But his growth as a player, despite his greatness, just continues. Shot clock at 7. Ginobili. Parker on the floater. Way off. And Stoudemire another rebound. Looking for Stoudemire. Again! 35 for Stoudemire. A 3-point game.
I would go back to have Robert Horry on Steve Nash instead of Tony Parker. Steve can just pass right by Tony at will.
A 7-0 run for the Phoenix Suns, trying to keep their season alive. Ginobili finding Horry. Robert Horry rushed it. Duncan right there on the foul.
You need defensive rotation. Somebody comes down the lane like that, cut the big man's legs if you're the Phoenix guards.
Duncan has 29. Nash for 3. In and out. Ginobili the rebound. The Spurs have led by as many as 12 here in the fourth quarter. Parker kicks it out. Bowen hits a 3. Bruce Bowen, a huge shot. And a lead back up to 8.
Doesn't make a lot of those from the right corner.
Johnson double team. That ball deflected. Still plenty of time for Phoenix.
On it.
Nash gets inside. Stoudemire!
You don't think Steve just threw that up there on the board for him, do you? I wouldn't put it past him. He knew he had the big guys there. Just throw it up.
I don't think so, Bill, but I agree with you. You can't put it past Steve Nash with the vision he has on the floor.
It's as if Stoudemire's got one of the trampolines they use during the timeouts.
Ginobili. Duncan makes his move, kicks it out. Nash takes it away from Bowen. And a foul on Bruce Bowen. They're not the penalty yet. It's the 14th foul. And he'll take it out of bounds.
It's a great foul by Bowen. Nash down the lane, throws it up. He puts it off that board. That looked to be intentional. Because he didn't put the normal spin that he would have to use. We see so much from Ginobili to get that ball.
Either way, 2 points for the Phoenix Suns. Stoudemire against Duncan. Inside. Oh, Amari Stoudemire. It's back to 4. 39 points, 14 here in the fourth quarter.
Against the most disciplined defensive squad and individual player in the entire game. Right in his face.
I think I just saw him smile out there. He's having fun.
Why did they double team Tim Duncan 30 feet from the basket?
Oh, beautiful move. Ginobili right to the glass. Jimmy Jackson. Bang! Three-pointer from Jackson. And the Suns will not go away. Keep fighting back.
This is where you have to be able to stick guys one-on-one. No double team. You're going to give San Antonio a wide-open shot.
Duncan, 7 on the shot clock. There's a double team. Johnson deflects it. And it's still Spurs ball.
But 3 on the shot clock, and that's a critical element. Keep him trapped in the corner.
Timeout. 2:19 remaining here in the fourth quarter. Teams exchanging some superb plays. Amari Stoudemire at 22 years old. Another brilliant performance. He's got 39. Jimmy Jackson with a big 3. The Phoenix Suns looking to force a game 6. The Suns within 3. Amari Stoudemire had 11 points in the fourth quarter of Game 4 and made all the big plays, including that spectacular block on Tim Duncan. He's doing it again, Bill.
Historical and series turning plays. Game 4, Amari Stoudemire breaking his wrist. And sent it back moments ago, though. He smothers over the top of Manu Ginobili. That spurred him on and then comes right back on the offensive end. Looks at Tim Duncan. Bruce Bowen comes right at him. He goes to the far side, fading away, and throws it down.
Again, one of the impressive parts of what he's doing is he's doing against one of the best, if not the best defensive team in the league, against one of the best defensive players in the league in Duncan. Right now, though, huge possession as the Spurs will inbound along their own baseline with just 3 seconds remaining on the shot clock.
And if you're Phoenix, keep them trapped. Don't let them throw way out there. The corner is your teammate.
Horry lobs it into Duncan. Duncan gets inside. On the tip. Duncan puts it in. And Tim Duncan with 31.
If you notice how Amari Stoudemire, his second jump on the offensive end is much better than it is on the defensive end.
Duncan and Stoudemire going at each other here in the fourth. Jackson, bad pass, and Robert Horry with another steal. Horry's 3rd steal of the game. Again, making big plays in crunch time of playoff games.
Ginobili and Parker, 2-man basketball. Interchange. Get Horry involved as well.
Parker, close to a travel. Parker, way short and burying the rebound. Minute and a half remaining.
Stoudemire's out in front. He's got Horry on him. Come to the ball and call for it.
The final minute of the half is where the Suns made all the big plays in Game 4. Nash taking his time.
That switch worked back for San Antonio's favor.
Stoudemire inside, left-handed, banks it. Oh, in and out. And Duncan the rebound. That one was halfway down.
D'Antoni wanting a foul, wanting a goaltend violation possibly.
Under a minute to play. The Suns don't need to foul yet.
No margin of error for Phoenix.
Parker inside, left open. Parker puts it in. And it's a 7-point game with 50 seconds remaining.
D'Antoni says run faster and shoot more threes.
Jackson, that's a 2. Stoudemire the rebound. And a foul on Duncan after Stoudemire knocked Parker to the ground.
Popovich cannot believe that Tony Parker is lying face down after just being leveled by Amari Stoudemire. But when you're playing in the zone that Stoudemire is right now, I don't know if that's a foul or something. Is it a foul if you push the guy with the ball in your hands?
That's a foul.
What? If you never touch the opponent with your body,
that has to be a foul. I don't think it's specifically.
If there's no body contact on it.
Maybe that's why they didn't call it, but he clearly pushed Parker, and then Duncan picked up his 4th foul. Stoudemire, for the 2nd time in the series, has hit the 40-point mark. Huge miss right there. And now they have to foul. Ball poked away. They come up with a steal. Stoudemire to Marion. 4-point game.
You have to foul right away. They need a timeout, San Antonio.
They still have to foul with 26.4 remaining, down by 4. But a big steal and a bucket for Sean Marion.
Robert Horry. Careless, casual with the ball. They can't get it out.
Suns will try one last-ditch effort. They trail by 4. Spurs ball when we return. 4-point lead for San Antonio. They have the ball. The Suns, you see, have a foul to give. That actually hurts them right now. San Antonio will inbound. Some huge plays down the stretch, Bill, including this one from Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan on the offensive end rolls by Stoudemire, and then his presence of mind to stay right with it while the other Suns' big men are standing there watching. And then Amari Stoudemire comes to the lane, changes his hands, and then with the ball up on the rim, Tim Duncan snatches it off, but a second lower level look will show that Tim Duncan's hand hits the rim and the net, which should have been a goaltending violation.
It didn't look like it affected the flight, but as soon as that's touched in the cylinder, that should have been 2 points for Phoenix.
You cannot hit the rim or the backboard when the ball is up there, still with a chance to go in.
Now, what the Suns need to do is ball tonight. I don't know why Joe Johnson is not back on Tony Parker to deny the ball.
You want to use your foul to give right away. You have to take it immediately.
But try and go for a steal off the inbound. And plus, if Parker gets it back here by the time Johnson gets to him,
he's going to get back. He's going to get there. He wants to.
Yeah, now he is going back looking for the steal. Ginobili gets away, and he draws the foul, a 2-shot foul.
He was clearly going to shoot the ball. He just couldn't get it up there because they grabbed him so hard.
So Ginobili wisely went to the basket, and he'll shoot the free throws.
Tough defense there. Jim Jackson really forced to grab him in that situation. They allowed Ginobili to turn the corner.
And the Suns still have 2 timeouts in the 20, so that will really help them as Ginobili puts this in. Even if he makes both, it would make it a 6-point game, 2-possession game. And again, Phoenix with plenty of timeouts, but perhaps running out of time.
Amari Stoudemire calling the crowd out, but
clutch free throws from Manu Ginobili. And Mike D'Antoni will use one of his timeouts to advance the ball to the front court. And the lead is now 6 with 24.8 remaining. So the Phoenix Suns desperately trying to extend their season, desperately hoping for a Game 6 in San Antonio. Now, Bill, down 6, obviously a 2-possession game in terms of 3-pointers, but they still have 2 timeouts remaining, so they don't necessarily have to go for the threes right away, correct?
Quickness and time management. I think you have to go for threes right now. I mean, unless you're going to get a wide-open layup, they're not going to give you a wide-open layup. San Antonio, this is the smartest team in the entire league in terms of the corporate knowledge that Greg Popovich always talks about. One of the big problems is Amari Stoudemire saying, hey, just give me the ball and I'll dunk it home, because Steve Nash has not had a good second half here.
Meanwhile, the Spurs are in the penalty, so any foul will put Phoenix at the line. But you can count on Greg Popovich telling his team to watch out for the threes, because the only thing that's going to beat them right now is a couple of threes.
The strategy for Phoenix has to be penetrate and dish. Draw, drive it at somebody who's guarding a three-point shooter. Who are your best three-point shooters? Unfortunately, Quentin Richardson's not getting anything done. He's got the bad leg. Sean Marion is hurt. Jim Jackson possibly. Drive at their defenders. Try to set them up with a dribble handoff type play.
It has been a terrific playoff run for the Phoenix Suns. It might end. Worst for official 2005 playoffs merchandise. Log on to the NBAstore.com. Get great Suns and Spurs gear. Suit up for the playoffs at NBAstore.com. But will the playoffs come to an end right now for the Phoenix Suns? They had a magical season, won 62 games. The third greatest turnaround in NBA history after winning just 29 the year before. An NBA best 62 wins. Led the league in scoring. Highest scoring team in 10 years. But they may have met their match in the San Antonio Spurs.
But like in the 93 finals with the Charles Barkley years, have yet to win on their home court in the biggest series of them all.
Marion. Nash puts up a three. Nash won't go. Rebound tipped. And Bowen has it. He's fouled with 16.8 remaining. And that just may do it. Certainly if Bowen hits the free throws, he's not a good free throw shooter. But it's a 6-point game now with 16.8 remaining.
And how tough for Steve Nash, who's just had an unbelievable season. A dream season, really. Was great in the first half, but here in the second, 1 for 9 shooting for Steve as the MVP and just 3 points.
These are Bowen's first free throws of this series. And again, he's not a good free throw shooter. 55% for his career. So now it's 16.8. Certainly if Bowen misses this, now they have to go for the threes, Bill. Still have a timeout and a 20 remaining. Bowen with a chance to make it a 3-possession game.
I don't think you really want to call a timeout here. Get them on the run. They are going to talk it over. But that gives San Antonio a chance to set their defense.
But they need, this way, at least they can advance the ball to the front court without any time coming off. And set up a quick play for a quick three, but down by 7 now. The Phoenix Suns starting to run out of miracles. So Mike D'Antoni will set up a play, no doubt, to try and get a quick three.
Phoenix needs a San Antonio collapse. And that's one of the problems when your success is based on the failures of others and you're playing San Antonio.
It's so ironic, Bill, for Phoenix here at home. It's down the stretch at crunch time where they've struggled in this series in games 1 of 2, losing at home where the San Antonio Spurs made the big plays, yet it was on the road in game 4 where they made the big plays down the stretch.
But they haven't had the control in tonight's game that they had in game 4 with that magnificent third quarter that gave them the big lead, and then the constant push, the constant race. Phoenix is not a half-court team.
Of course, the Phoenix Suns, for many, this is really their first long playoff run. And perhaps part of the ongoing progress this team has made. What a great turnaround. But advancing in the playoffs is another story. And you need that playoff experience. Whereas San Antonio has had that playoff experience with a chance to go to their 3rd NBA Finals in the past 7 years.
Just because you're behind the San Antonio Spurs doesn't mean you've had an awful season.
It has been a great season for the Phoenix Suns. The fans hoping for a miracle finish here. But Tim Duncan and the Spurs making all the big plays down the stretch.
Who will inbound the ball? Jim Jackson.
Often you see the man who inbounds it comes right back for a catch and shoot. Jackson, Marion, Nash, Stoudemire, and Joe Johnson on the floor for the Phoenix Suns. Again, Spurs do not have a foul to give.
Jackson more the shooter than the passer himself. Doesn't like to really throw hard passes.
Jackson looking. Stoudemire puts up a three. Off the mark. Tipped by Jackson. Parker the rebound. Knocked out of bounds. And it's San Antonio ball with 11 seconds remaining. And the Spurs ready to clinch this series.
Tim Duncan congratulating Robert Horry and saying thanks for tipping that ball out of there. You can already see the smile on Tim Duncan's face, but Greg Popovich is going to take a timeout and talk this over one more time.
Just to make sure they don't do anything silly here on this inbounds, but with a 7-point lead, And 11 seconds remaining. San Antonio Spurs look like they're going to win all 3 games here at America West Arena. And the ironic thing for the Spurs, Bill, is they were just an average road team for them during the regular season. But now this would be their 4th straight road playoff game. Game 6 in Seattle and the 3 games here in Phoenix.
And they won the 2 games up in Denver, which was a raucous affair up there. I mean, that crowd in Denver, wild as can be. They have to fight them off. And San Antonio during this timeout is discussing where they want to inbound this ball from. The most important thing is they just keep throwing it toward their basket. Don't ever throw it back toward the Phoenix Sun basket.
Meanwhile, reality starting to set in for the Phoenix Suns. Steve Nash, who was back in 2003, he was a member of the Dallas Mavericks. His team lost in the conference finals to the San Antonio Spurs. It's going to happen again for him. He says this year's Spurs team is better than the 2003 edition that won the title because he feels they're better offensively.
A 2003 team had had David Robinson on it.
They were a better defensive team, but he feels with Parker and Ginobili and their improvement. Well, that's just Steve Nash's opinion.
I'm a firm believer that David Robinson is one of the great forces in NBA history.
No doubt David Robinson watching and smiling. 11 seconds remaining. The fans trying to muster some enthusiasm. Or they sense what's about to happen.
So San Antonio advances the ball. They have this set where they keep Tony Parker back to really spread the defense.
They get it to Ginobili. Ginobili fouled. And less than a second goes off the clock, so Manu Ginobili will shoot 2. And nobody's leaving. You get the feeling the Suns fans want to have some way to say thank you to their team after such a great season that's obviously going to end in disappointment here tonight. And Ginobili, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He started slowly in this game, but fills the box score like he so often does.
And all the intangibles that Robert Horry brought tonight. Bruce Bowen as well. But what we've seen from this guy, Stoudemire, one more time.
Stoudemire with 42 points, 4 seconds remaining. Ginobili gets away. And now it's official. The San Antonio Spurs are going back to the NBA Finals. Terrific sportsmanship as these two teams with so much respect. And the great season from Steve Nash comes to an end.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank the best fans in the NBA for coming out to tonight's game.
And they will now await the winner of the Miami Heat and the Detroit Pistons get some extra rest. Tim Duncan, brilliant tonight with 31 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. And Duncan also with 4 block shots.
And the NBA Finals will start a week from tomorrow night in San Antonio. So they'll fly home tonight, San Antonio, or tomorrow, and then have a week at home at their training facility, and they will be ready.
Let's send it over to Jim Gray.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Tim Duncan, what, as Tony Parker joins Tim, what in your mind was the difference in this series?
Persistence. These guys are an incredible offensive team. They scored, they kept on scoring, they kept on coming, but we just stuck with it. We got stops here and there. We were able to push it back at them and make our shots.
You feel as though you beat them at their own games?
It seems like it, and it seems like it's not the kind of scores that we want to play in. But we played that way. We made it happen. Just a great all-around effort from a lot of guys.
Tim, congratulations. We'll see you back in the locker room for the trophy presentation. Back to you, Mike.
All right, Jim. San Antonio Spurs winning the Western Conference Finals in 5 games, going 3-0 here in Phoenix at America West Arena. Stay with ESPN for Sports Center. Coming up next, we'll be back shortly to Phoenix for a recap of tonight's game and the Spurs trophy presentation. As the San Antonio Spurs end the great season of Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns, it was a marvelous year and ends in a tough way tonight on their home floor. So for Bill Walton, Jim Gray, producer Eddie Fibershoff, director Jimmy Moore, our statistician Dave Freed, this is Mike Green saying thanks for being with us. Final score, the San Antonio Spurs 101, the Phoenix Suns 95. The Spurs on their way to the NBA Finals.